Welcome to another episode of the Debate Circle here at the Kisumu region. We are kickstarting the final stage of the juniors, and the winning motion is lack of access to quality education and financial literacy is the primary driver of intergenerational poverty. Proposing and opposing this motion is Maseno School versus Kanga School. Good luck to both teams. Proposition, speaker 1, you have 3 minutes.
We all know that lack of knowledge is the reason why, according to the book of Proverbs, a lot of people die. Let me be your cause for living. I am Deron Etale from Maseno School, here to propose the motion that lack of access to quality education and financial literacy is the primary driver of intergenerational poverty. So let's first understand some few things here. What is quality education? This is the learning of valuable facts from an institution. What exactly is financial literacy? This is the knowledge of knowing how the financial and moral works goes. We have the primary driver. This is the main cause. So without further ado, allow me to jump right into my points. We have financial literacy. According to the Global Financial Literacy Excellence Center, reports that globally only about 1 over 3 of the adults are financially literate. What does that mean? That we have a third of our adults not having knowledge on finance. That means we are literally living in a poverty state right now, even without noticing it. We likely are going to know that individuals with higher levels of financial literacy are more likely to score a good retirement and saving fees. What does this mean? We are likely to experience adults with better off lives, older on and elder as they march on, because of the fact that they have financial literacy. Isn't that great for Kenya? We go to economic mobility. Proponents believe that enhancing financial literacy can promote economic mobility by equipping individuals with the tools to build assets. Assets, we know assets as the things that you invest in that will help in future future investments, and also in knowing what in your future wealth as a matter of fact. We also know, and we should note, that when you have assets, that means your future is already set in stone as the perfect wealth being. We also have, it can help individuals from low-coming families to accumulate wealth over time. That means we are likely to experience better off moments when we expose people to quality education now about finance. Isn't that the whole point of accounting? Isn't that why accounting is offered in universities? We need to understand that in these matters, so we need to know more about finance, we need to grasp finance, and we need to utilize the knowledge on finance. Thank you.
Well, lack of access to quality education, is it really the primary driver to intergenerational poverty? The main thing here, it is intergenerational poverty. Well, my brother, you say that when one has financial literacy, he's able to plan for retirement. Can I ask you, how can you plan for retirement when one doesn't have a job to start with? Really, is it competent? Well, standing before you is Marita Teddy Ogoro, Kanga School student. Family to oppose the motion stating that lack of access to quality education and financial literacy is the primary driver to intergenerational poverty. What is intergenerational poverty? It is a cycle when poverty persists across multiple generations within a family or a community. It occurs when children from poor families are more likely to grow up to be poor themselves. Well, continuing this cycle of economical disadvantages, indeed, intergenerational poverty is a great challenge. But I want to pause and say lack of quality education is not the primary key to intergenerational poverty. Well, corruption is one of the factors. How does corruption lead to intergenerational poverty? I want to say this can directly be seen also to poor governance and incompetent leadership we have in our country. Brothers and sisters, poor governance in our country, incompetent leadership has greatly bring to a downstream of it has raised and brought in intergenerational poverty, where it is coming from one cycle to another, moving forward. Leaders have promised us, oh, we are going to give you free Wi-Fi, we are going to provide free milk, feeding programs in schools, reduced prices of items. All this high cost of living, it is also a factor leading to intergenerational poverty. Really, I want to ask, has ever one day a person from the disadvantaged, let me not say disadvantaged, from backgrounds whereby a person from the Diego community in top leadership positions, has it ever happened one day? But I want to say this, that it is time, and say it is time we have the fact that not only quality education leads to intergenerational poverty, it is a big cycle. Asanteni sana.
Why do you go to school? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Why are you in school learning? Reason about that. That is because lack of quality education will lead you to having no jobs. Over the last 50 years, require high levels of education and pay relatively high incomes, while low levels of education pay low incomes, which will continue intergenerational poverty. You said that corruption. How do you deal with corruption? Through education. When you are educated, you'll know how to deal with the government. There's the constitution which constitutes the government. Through education, you learn how to correct the government. So education is a key factor. And on to my first point, industrialization of countries. In the current world, no one can get jobs without lack of quality education. And even if you say you're going to get jobs, the jobs that are gotten through lack of quality education are getting minimal, and some are even eradicated. You can't say that you're going to work in a farm and get money that will sustain you and your entire family, lift you up the poverty lines. It's not logical. But if you go to school, get quality education, get college degrees, university degrees, and go look for a job, the people will actually consider, they will look at your degree, say this person is experienced, and if we hire him, he'll probably lead to the uprising of this business company or industry. And that is why I say education is a very key factor in eradicating intergenerational poverty. The next point, general impact. Children from low-income families are less likely to enroll in education and graduate, and that is because they lack money. Why is that? Their parents somehow lacked financial literacy. That little money they have, or the loans they get, instead of budgeting and trying to invest it in something that can earn them some money to pay their children's school fees, and instead the children graduate, go get high-paying jobs, come back, uplift their families, and remove their family from the lines and chains of intergenerational poverty.
My dear friends, education is not a guarantee to employment. It does not cater for those who fail in it. For example, those who get T, they were educated, they were subjected to education. What has the education ministry done? Otherwise, I'm not here to argue, but just improve my argument from my side. Does that Does lack of quality access to education and financial literacy in primary drives of intergenerational poverty? Does that mean that all those who are financially who got quality education and those who are have financial literacy are employed? And that drives me into my first point of opposition, unemployment. It is quite evident to us all that not all of us who have gotten quality education is subjected to employment. All that glitters is not gold. This is quite, there's a good example from the past scenarios in our country. The other day, doctors camped in Afia House. Why? They got learned, days come, days go. They are not employed. Why? Because not because that they lacked quality education, is because there is an unemployment in the country, and this is the main reason why they learn, suffer, and struggle financially, leading to intergenerational poverty. Why blame access to quality education? Yet we learn, but we have no jobs. Why? It drives me to my second point: education mismatch. I want to take you through education mismatch. What is education mismatch? It refers to the disparity between the skills acquired through education and those demanded by job markets. A good example is a life scenario where I encountered my friends, Keith and Peter, from the University of Kenyatta. They did the Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery in the University of Kenyatta in the year 2018. I asked them recently, what happened? How is the ground? You know what they replied? The ground is not actually good because we opted to find employment in such bigger hospitals like Strathmore and Aga Khan hospitals. But what did they say? The employees took only those who are specialized. That means mismatch in quality education can also contribute to intergenerational poverty, not only lack of access quality education. Otherwise, I would like to rest at that point. Thank you.
Now, we have had multiple generations across the years. If you look at the form of education that has been before, it was not the formal education that we have now. The education that we had then, maybe people were told through apprenticeship where you can just see something, know how to do it, you do it, and maybe you can make a living from it. But the type of education that we have now is the formal one, which is very different from the other one. This one you have to work very hard. For us students, you know that we must read for us to be able to gain that financial literacy that we need. But then you could just see what is being done, you do it the right way, and you make a living. Education not guaranteeing employment. Then we should have been told what guarantees employment. One of them talk about education not being able to guarantee employment. Then what can guarantee employment? Should I just go and sit back home and relax because I know education won't guarantee my employment? You should tell me that one. Then we should also just be realistic on this. Let's say, for example, we have two people who are suffering from poverty and financial mishappenings, and maybe you want to eradicate this poverty from the two of them. One is very learned and one is not so learned. Which one will you choose to invest your money in, whom you know that if you invest your money, some returns will be brought? Will you invest with that one who is not learned at all, or that one who has some formal knowledge and knows how to manage a business very well? I don't think any of us would like to invest with that person who has nothing on, who has no any formal education, knows nothing about business. You can't just give them money and then say, go and start a business. What will they do with the money?
Lack of access to quality education and financial literacy is the primary driver of intergenerational poverty. When I heard about this, I was like, oh my. Generations. Education did not begin from the start of time. Education was developed. So, I would like to thank you for your question from Maseno. You know, It's funny how we need education to get money, but we also need money to get education. So, money is the real deal. And if we want to eradicate poverty, we cannot do it using education, because education has proven that it is a system which is not to be trusted. It is incompetent, it is insufficient and inefficient. Now, when I say this, I come in peace. Unemployment, as my fellow member of parliament has stated, is one of the other reasons why people still languish in poverty. You find that universities in Kenya are producing more graduates than the jobs the government can create. You find that there's inequality in this country. First, let me talk about nepotism and tribalism. How many representatives of the Digo do you have in the parliament? And I'm not just stating about the Digo. We have other tribes which are not even sought in Kenya. Just the other day, members of the opposition party were given a chance to nominate members of the East African Parliament. What did they do? Their sons and daughters are in the East African Parliament. This is due to inequality. Inequality is a menace. So we have to fight inequality in order to fight poverty. We don't need only education, we don't need financial literacy, but first we have to start by fighting these factors which have been there from day one. We have to start by fighting this inequality. We have to start by fighting corruption. We have to start by fighting unemployment. We have to go back to the drawing board and realize, where did we go wrong as a country? Are we not listening, or are we not being listened to? I don't want to play the blame game, but I just want to echo my thoughts. I want to make you aware that education is not everything in life. Try investing in talent. Try investing in talent.
You say that people lack jobs due to corruption. Well, you are wrong. How many people out there have actually started their own business and become successful in life? How many? You only just blind yourself with the people out there roaming in the streets with no certificates, unemployed, not knowing that there are many people who have actually engaged in entrepreneurship. An example are doctors. You said that doctors have degrees and yet they're not employed. What about those doctors who have opened up their chemistries? What about those doctors who have opened up pharmacies? What? You said that education did not exist in the past. I'm sorry to tell you this, but it did. It was passed on by elders and women of the clan. You said that education requires money. How can you eradicate poverty with poverty? How? In fact, education is free in Kenya. So stop blaming it on the government. Thank you.
You know, the main reason why we are not successful as a country is due to people like you. You tend to focus on the majority who have succeeded. What about the minority who have not succeeded? Are we a nation which is only focusing on the major supreme dynasties, or are we just focusing on the less privileged? We should focus on the less privileged also, because they are Kenyans. They have the same rights. They are guided by the same constitution. So don't raise a question to me asking, why are there more successful educated people than there are uneducated? I would like to say that talent, we should invest in our talent. This is where it all began, from Da Vinci, drawing, designing aeroplanes. The education system does not give us a sure bet of whether we'll be successful or not. We are just playing lottery, 50-50. We are not sure of our future. So let us focus on things that are guaranteed to our future. Thank you.
All right, I have the privilege to start. I want to appreciate you for making it all the way to the finals. For me, the most important thing for you is that you made it to this particular stage, all right? So someone will win and another one will learn, all right? And it's just really to look at each other and say that you are a formidable team, that you made me a little bit sweat, you are a formidable team. And that's what debate is all about. Now, looking at the topic today, we're talking about lack of access to quality education and financial literacy is the primary driver for intergenerational poverty. I felt like there was a whole discussion about intergenerational poverty, and I love some of the examples that came along. But being a final, you have been here, you have been corrected several times. I may not delve into that. I'll just go straight to some of the submissions. From the proposition side, Darren, who's Darren? That's you? I think you started so well, by defining the terms, and I love the fact that you brought in the aspect of retirement. For me, that's why it matters, okay? So that was a good way of starting over. Then you brought in the other elements of tools to build assets and the likes. I think one correction only, I think you meant low-income individuals because you said low-coming, all right? I think that's what you meant. For Marita, this is the side as well, first speakers. I think I rated the first speakers very well. You guys started off your team super well, all right? I think I love the corruption angle, the poor governance, incompetence, and all that. However, as well as a correction, you don't say it has rised, all right? I think it arose or something of that sort. I don't know what you meant, but you said it has rised, okay? To the cross-examiners, who cross-examined, who did not? Both of you cross-examined, by the way, and I love the passion. I love the passion. You have great passion, and that's an element to be taken in, all right? Some of the things that we check as well here is passion and conviction. How convinced are you? So sometimes even if you're lying to us and you're passionate, it's something, all right? That's what debate is all about. Sometimes you may not agree to what you're debating because the coin toss to the other side, but you have to be passionate about your delivery. So that's commendable. So I just wanted to applaud on that. To this other end as well, good examples, especially, I love the example you gave on the doctors, all right? Because it's so current that these are educated people, high quality educated people, but they're on the streets sleeping there. So I felt there was good research in terms of current examples, all right? And I love the fact that you said that education is not a guarantee to a job. Now, to the third speakers, who for me were a lot the determinants of how is this going, because the first two are super amazing. For me, from the proposition side, I felt you needed to organize yourself more, all right, and understand your role as a third speaker. There was a bit of laxity on that. It doesn't mean that you're not a great speaker as well. Samuel, I love the facts that you gave. However, some of them were not substantiated, all right? But I love some of the comments you give, like inequality will help fight poverty, those kind of things. To the proposition time, there was still something desired. I felt there was a lot of advantages of education, but the motion was not asking us to give the advantages of education. It was talking about the whole thing of intergenerational poverty. An example would be this. Think of a child who was born, which is not too far-fetched, in the first family of this country. Do they think about poverty? Absolutely not, right? Why? We know they have almost everything. It's a simple way of elaborating to us. Sometimes look for an example and give us, even if you create one. Even look at yourself, maybe. Maybe you're super rich because your grandfather was. I'm just saying, all right? That's generational kind of way of thinking. But all the best to the teams. I enjoyed the debate.